Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to answer if Macy's is an excellent dividend stock to buy. Of course, if you're a passive income investor, dividends are an excellent way to generate that passive income. And I'm going to look at 4 or 5 different metrics here to determine if Macy's is an excellent dividend stock to buy right now. The first of which being trailing 12-month revenue. Looking at Macy's here, trailing 12-month revenue of 25 billion most recently, and looking back at the longer run trend, we're seeing a downward trend here with Macy's revenue. This is partly due to it being in a declining business with brick and mortar sales declining, but it's also partly due to it closing down a lot of its brick and mortar stores, shrinking its footprint. So a combination of two things there has been decreasing Macy's revenue, but in my opinion, these downside revenue trajectories are starting to stabilize because Macy's has found a way to use its brick and mortar stores as a sales advantage. How is it doing that? Well, if you're a shopper for some clothing, you're going to be more comfortable buying from Macy's.com if you know there's a Macy's store nearby that you can go to return if you need to make a return instead of having the whole hassle of packing it and finding a place to ship it back and all of that. You can just drive down to your local Macy's. So that's giving it a relative advantage here for selling clothing online. The next metric I'm going to look at is Macy's net income going back 10 years. And you see here net income trailing 12 month of 1.4 billion. It's about the same as it's been going all the way back to 2014. So even though you've been noticing falling revenue, the company has been able to keep profits high, and that's good news for dividend stock investors because ultimately dividends are paid out of profits. If a company doesn't have sufficient profits, it cannot sustain a dividend payment. So this is good news for those looking to invest in Macy's stock for its dividend. The next thing I'm going to look at here is Macy's cash flow from operations, and I'm also going to go back 10 years on this metric and looking at trailing 12 months, and most recently it was 2.36 billion, and it's been higher than going all the way back to 2016. It hasn't been this high, ignoring the brief boost during the recovery from the pandemic. And that's really good news again because this is cash the company can use to pay dividends without needing to borrow, without needing to skirt other investments. The company has plenty of cash to pay out in dividends. All right, the next metric I'm going to look at is the dividend payout ratio. This measures the percentage of its earnings the company pays in dividends. So at 12.3%, Macy's dividend payout ratio is extremely low, lower than it's been for a long time before the outbreak. So it lowered its dividend right after the outbreak, right? Just to conserve cash. It had to close its stores. It didn't know how long it was going to have to keep its stores closed. So it reduced, it paused its dividend, and now it's only begun reinstated. It's only restarted the dividend. And so it's got room to keep growing this dividend if it wanted to. It's got sufficient cash flow, sufficient profits, and it's only at a 12% payout ratio. And finally, what I'm going to look at is the stock's valuation considering the price to earnings and the price to free cash flow. If we look at each metric here going back 5 years, Macy's stock looks relatively cheap and cheap on absolute terms too, at a price to earnings of just 4.7 and a price to free cash flow of just 5.6. That's a cheap stock. That's a really cheap stock. So if you're a dividend investor looking to generate some passive income, I think Macy's is a good place to look here. At these prices, with the improvements that Macy's made to its business during the pandemic after the initial stages, I think you're investing in a quality business here. Yes, I mean, this is This is not a stock that's going to be an explosive growth stock, 10xing your money over the next 5 years. But that's not what you're probably looking for in a quality dividend stock. With a quality dividend stock, you're probably looking for consistent and stable payments to generate passive income. And I think you've found one here in Macy's. All right, so that's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.